it's important to turn the water off before you attempt any plumbing in the house. Find that main valve, shut the water off to the house so you can work without getting a bath. Hey, this is John Young. Today we're going to be dealing with an outdoor spigot that is leaking. Now this is a twofer. Typically there's 3 spots that these can leak. One is coming out the bottom. We're getting that. Secondly is there's a relief valve type of a thing on the top here, and we're getting moisture or water coming out of this. And then the third spot we aren't getting, but that's if it comes out the stem here. And that we're going to talk about all 3 of how to fix that. So to get to, the first thing we need to do is we need to know what model this is. And this is a Woodford. It says right here on the handle. But typically they say somewhere else what model it is if it's a Woodford. And I have the repair kit. This is a Woodford 19, and the repair kit is our repair kit RK19. But I'll show you in the repair kit what piece this is, because the model number is actually on top on this little cover that's on the top of that. And that is a friction fit cover here. And it will say, if you can see that, it says there's a 19 on there, Woodford model 19. This is semi-unusual. While it's very common, you can't find the 19 parts everywhere. I'll put a link in the description where you can find this little kit. What this little kit is it will deal with leaking through the top relief valve. It will deal with leaking coming out the actual spigot itself, and also around the handle. There are different gaskets and different things in here, different rubber bonnets and things that will fix the whole thing. The tools we need. Well, we need a screwdriver with a flat blade. We will need a water pump plier. An adjustable end wrench is what I'm going to be using because we have to use that right away. And then we want a smaller screwdriver. And I'll show you what that one we'll use when we get to that point. So the first thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking off the handle and looking in here. Again, I'm just going to do this in real time and you guys can follow. It looks like I have got some little mud daubers that must have come through here and filled that little area. So that screw is down in there somewhere, and I'll find it. We'll find it and hopefully get that screwed back out. Because the first thing we need to do is take the handle off. Well, that handle's kind of stuck on there. So then we're going to leave it on there. We'll come back to that, but we're going to there is a little nut behind, and we're going to take that and loosen that one so we can actually pull the whole unit out. And this is where I'm using my adjustable end wrench as opposed to water pump pliers there. But now it's that little nut's been pulled out and it's released. I'm going to just move you up here so you can see that it is backed off. And now I'm going to push you right back in there. I'm going to turn the handle, which if I would have taken the handle off to take that nut off, then I'd put the handle back on. Wouldn't need the screw. But then I have to turn to basically get it so it disengages from the wall, because it's screwed in the wall a ways. And you can see that this is a longer shaft. Now here's one of the gaskets is right here, and there's another gasket, and we're about to get kind of wet. There's a little bit of finagling we need to do. And then here is our last couple of gaskets. There's a little bonnet gasket here. There's a gasket inside, and these all 3, 1, 2, 3, need to be replaced to really make it so that this is most likely not going to leak anymore. But our first problem we have is we've got to get this handle off here. This handle is on there really, really tight. Now we've got the screw, it is out. So we just have to get that handle off. Gonna try tapping it just a little bit. Okay, after some tapping, we got it off. And yeah, it was kind of corroded on there, which in the repair kit, there's a new handle. So we'll just put a new handle on there. We have our first little nut. And again, there's a new nut in the bag. And then we have this gasket, which would keep it from leaking out the front, coming right out here. And you can see, let's show you the old one compared to the new one. You can see that there's a little bit of difference to the two. And I'm going to look at it again. The kind of the flat side will come to the outside, and this more contoured will go to the inside. But we're not going to put it on yet. We have to take the washer and that off, and you see that the washer has a kind of a rounded sleeve, and then the flat side. The flat goes out, and the flat goes out. But we have to take these off because we need to get down to this little bonnet down here. This little piece has to come off next because we need to put a new one of those on, because this is probably one of the multiple. So we're just going to kind of work our way around here and just going to try to loosen it up a little bit, because once we have it loose and we have it all, there we are. And because we're taking it off and we're not going to be reusing this because the kit has one in there, we don't have to be super careful with it, but we don't want to damage any of the other pieces. So we'll be a little careful. And then it slides right off. Now we'll grab the replacement piece to show you the difference between the two. There's the old one, there's the new one. So not too much difference between the two. They look fairly similar. So we'll put the new one on, making sure that we have it going the proper direction. Now it might be in a situation where you get up in here that if this little piece is too dry, that it may not go on very easily. As you can see, I have water right there still dripping, so we can kind of get that, and off we go. So we have the new little bonnet gasket. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go back to the other end here. I'm going to take this little nut out. So we just go in here with our little Phillips and back this nut, and this one was actually not too difficult. I can pull this out and get this one done. Now there should be a little washer in there, and this one is where we need to have our small screwdriver so we can get in here to kind of pop it free. Now let's see if we can. I'm going to try to push that out a little bit. Now you'll notice when this washer comes out, or you see the replacement washer, is that it has a bevel on one side, or it's kind of rounded on one side, and the other side is flat. When we go to put this back together, we have to keep in mind the flat side is the side that has to go in first. The rounded side stays towards the outside. There we go. Now in this particular one, this is what I want to kind of show you here. So here are the two pieces, kind of side by side. You can see that the old one is kind of flattened out and it kind of squished a little bit, where the new one has kind of a nice, still a nice little kind of a pyramid shape. So that's the side that will go out. So I'm going to put the little bolt through like that, and then we'll put it in. Just going to use the screwdriver here, and use the screwdriver to help us. And then that will go right in there to secure that piece. And then once we have it in there and we can tighten it up, we don't have to get it super tight. We need to make sure it's catching and it's threaded and it's doing its job. And then we're good. And we're going to make sure that we are nice and snug here. Okay, it's all nice and snug. So now we can put this back in, getting it back in, pushing it up in there. We have that little piece that came, and this was to go in like so. And they sent us a replacement of that. So we're just going to use the new pieces as we go through here. So we'll take this one off, we'll put the new one on, and then we will put the new gasket on, and then we will be ready to put the outer piece on. But what we have to do first is we have to get this in and get it seated. So we're going to pull out our new handle and kind of slide it on there. And there we go. It's now in there and seated. And now we'll put this outer nut on. And what this will do is it'll put a little pressure. It'll put a little bit of pressure then on that gasket, the final gasket we put in there, and that will seal this area up so we shouldn't have leaking coming out of the handle. And you don't have to crank it super tight because it should be able to catch. It should be tight once it's kind of compressed, and you saw I wasn't way out on the end of the wrench as in the inside. We'll get it snug, and if we need to, we can tighten it a little bit more. This is the handle. We're not going to put that on now because we're going to go right to replacing that valve up on the top. There is a little check valve on there that will allow it to kind of bleed air out. So it will break the vacuum. And we're going to just kind of pop that off here. Pops off. Not pretty, but it pops off. Then here's where we're going to need our water pump pliers, because we need to take this little plastic piece out. And we can't, it's plastic, so we have to be a little careful. We can't just grab on it and torque on it. We have to just kind of use some slight persuasion, not heavy duty. And you'll see, I'm going to grab the pieces, the replacement pieces for this, so we can kind of show you what they'll look like as they're coming apart. So here is the replacement little plastic top that we're going to do, and then inside that is a little plunger. And here's what the new plunger will look like. You can kind of see the gasket's pretty well worn on the old one, so we're going to put the new one in. So we've got the little plunger. We'll put that inside this, and I'm going to use my little screwdriver here to put a little pressure on it to hold it in as we slide it into place. And then we can get it all lined up and dropped in there, and off we go. Now, if you need to, you can actually just put that little plunger in, just making sure it's straight up, and then you'll be able to look down and you can see that it's all lined up. And it might take a couple of times to get it right, because it's not a perfect science. And then once it's all done, in your little repair kit is a new cap. And again, this is the cap that says Model 19. And then that just snaps right up on top. Back to our repair kit, we have 2 screws left in this case. One of them I've reused on the end of the shaft there. And what I want to do is I want to get it so that, let's see, when that's all the way off, I want it to be level like that. So we'll put it in place. Bladed screwdriver. Now let's go turn some water on and see what we have. All right, now let's get a test. We are back in, and we've got air in the line. Now, once you shut these off, because the actual valve that shuts the water off is deep in the wall, especially for the Minnesota houses, we want that to be 8 to 10 inches back. So it's going to have a little water dripping and such. But before, when we would turn the water on, we'd have water bursting out from the top. And I'm not getting any water coming out from up here. The handle doesn't have any water, so we know that gasket's working. And the one in back seems to be working for us because it's just going to go to a slow drip, and then it'll shut off. We'll put a link in the description below so you can go and find the kit, find a couple of the tools that would work for this type of application. And hopefully, if you've got a Woodford Model 19, you can fix it and have many more years of use out of your outdoor spigot. This is John Young. Thanks for watching.
For more tips and how-to videos, go to weekendhandyman.com.